right, so we'll move on to listener questions for this episode. Adam, what you got?
All right, so Frozen Fear had a Wombo Combo great set of questions, so I'm going to go ahead and read both of them. The first part is, what is your hardest machine to keep going, video or pinball? I know yours, because I hate working on it.
Well, I would say right now I have a certain one because it's got gremlins.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's a different one then.
Notoriously, Star Trek Next Generation is the hardest to keep going, but...
That's the one I thought that you were going to pick.
But...
When you replace everything in it, it seems to be okay.
It's the Ship of Enterprise. Everything's been replaced. So is it still the Ship of Enterprise?
Yeah, that game has every possible thing a pinball machine can have, double it. That's Star Trek Next Generation pinball.
Yeah, it's got more subways in New York City and all kinds of stuff.
2 cannons.
But
there are some of that, but it is known, that's not just yours. That is a known game because it basically, I think, almost maximizes out the number of... what am I thinking here? I'm thinking MOSFETs, but what's the
transistors and Q transistors and all that.
Yeah, so all the drivers are used because of all the mechs and everything.
My thing is for the most part, arcades are usually easier to keep going because you have a monitor, a game board, and a power supply. Now, obviously, when you add things like steering wheels, it's going to get more complicated, right? Pinballs are usually more difficult to keep going because everything moves. You have a heavy ball breaking things, kind of flying into it. So that's kind of a general rule of thumb.
There's a flip-flop there, though. So I would say electromechanicals especially, the more they get played, the longer they keep going.
It's accurate.
Whereas solid states, the more they get played, the quicker they are to break down. It's just a kind of a rule of thumb. But, yeah, normally I would say Star Trek Next Generation, but it has been performing fantastic lately, and... no issues with it for a while. Centaur, however, has been nothing but trouble. Finally got the gameplay going, then had the sound finally going after running some jumpers within the wiring looms for like the solenoid board, and like finding the issue and diagnosing it finally, and then running jumpers and soldering those wires in is like, okay, well, everything's great now. No, then it just started not working again. And then, so there's been like a bunch of sound issues with it. So that's my current gremlin.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what else to do other than just finally bite the bullet and try to get a repro sound and speech board for it. But it was using all the original hardware, which I liked.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because it's nice to have that kind of stuff. And it's got a certain... soundboard, speech board, and it's got a reverb board too that does like the Centaur speak. That's part of it. So you have to get like a special soundboard reproduction type thing that's especially for it. So I'd say that's my recent one.
Yeah, for me recently, we have quite a few candy cabs in here, and we have a vertical one that it's haunted. It has to be haunted. I've swapped in 3 different monitors in it, and it works while I'm here, and then I leave, and then it magically the monitor starts acting up again. But part of the problem too is a lot of these cabs in their lives have been hacked up and modified, and you're not the one who did it. So most of the time you're spending on these games is going back and trying to put things back to the way they were, so you have a baseline to kind of troubleshoot from, right? And also too, I'm using bowling monitors to try to replace some of these things, so it's always kind of custom this and custom that. It just creates more problems, but I'm hoping. That's my knocking on the wood. Hoping it seems to be pretty good for now. I'm pretty sure I figured out what the issue was, but that's my recent one as far as pinball. As far as arcade. Pinball, my wife has a Freddy machine, and I really think that certain games were designed to not be on route, and I think the Nightmare on Elm Street pinball is one of them.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think a lot of the Gottlieb ones...
Yeah, Mario...
there's some that live up to the expectation of only being designed to work for 2 to 3 years. And I think here we are 35, 40 years later still...
And I think I own 2 of them.
Yeah.
So...
I'd say that, American Pinball... there's a couple that are just designed never to be put on route.
Yeah, and her game, the big thing is it's not even really the game so much, but the way it was designed. So the game has a Freddy glove on the left hand side, and it's got it's his glove and has the blades on it. Literally, they shatter into pieces.
Yeah.
and they were made out of the most brittle plastic. There's no way they expected this thing to last more than 30 days without breaking. So
quick comparison question. Which is more fragile, Freddy's blades or the T2 HK ship that came in the original game? Because I think both are essentially Halloween mask plastic.
Oh, 100%. I don't know. I never personally owned a T2, so I don't know.
Okay, the answer is T2.
Okay,
all right.
It wouldn't surprise me. But the thing is that what's frustrating about the Freddy glove is, it's a cool thing, and it really does add to the game. It knocks it back into the playfield if you.
Yeah, it has a gameplay element to it, right?
It's not just a piece of plastic that randomly will get hit if a ball pops up or whatever. So the frustrating thing is, I found a brand new one, but there is a 0% chance I'm putting it in the game because it will break.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody was reproducing them out of like a vinyl. And they had a prototype, and everyone's like, yes, I want one. And then the guy vanished, as is people on the internet. I don't know what happens to people. But I'd say probably that one has been a pain just because it wasn't designed to last.
Yeah.
That'd be my answer.
Mine are usually monitor related just because that's, like, even aside from the pinball stuff, I feel like my diagnosing, I don't know if it's better on the pinball stuff or, like, it just makes more logical sense sometimes. The monitor stuff will just seem like just going on forever and ever, even after, like, okay, I've replaced what seemingly it should be and what everyone else says it's got to be.
I've recapped the chassis. I've rejuved the tube.
Yes. And then it's like, okay, is it beyond repair or is it me missing, something?
You guys are looking at it the wrong way. You spend all your time wasted on that stuff that is now good, but you know what's not broken? All the stuff that you did, right?
Yeah.
You got to spin it around.
It's all the friends we made along the way.
And then once you get through the whole list and it still doesn't work, then you break it over your knee and throw it in the trash.
Yeah. Now, I will say...
or pay to throw it in the trash, as we have to do with CRT monitors these days since they're hazardous waste.
Yeah.
A little more recently, I've been trying to enjoy doing the monitor work a little bit more. There was a YouTuber that me and Adam, we had watched some on, and he's been in it doing monitors for years and years and years. So a lot of the information and kind of thought process or repair process he's put out on those YouTube videos, which has helped
Mike's Amateur Arcade Repair, I think it is. Guy's amazing.
Yeah, so those have been really helpful just from a standpoint of, like, okay, and I think I do this with other stuff too, is sometimes, like, I'll look at a problem and I'll maybe overcomplicate the solution as opposed to, like, what is the most basic thing it could be. Because oftentimes it'll be that, and I'll go to it after I've done, 5 or 6 other things, and I'm like, oh,
yeah. There's been plenty of times that I'm getting frustrated looking at something, and Rob will come in and look and go, oh, have you tried this? I'm like, no, I haven't. And then sometimes it just takes fresh eyes to look at stuff that you're just...
Yeah, that's true all around.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everybody has experiences that cause them to look for some things above other things, and then kind of prioritize those. So, different perspectives come in and be like, hey, that's very similar to something I've experienced in the past. If you tried looking at this, and it might be that, so...
Yeah.
Quick revision. I was thinking about games I have working.
Okay.
There's a notorious pinball game that I have owned 4 games of, and I've never got one working.
Yeah, I know what it is.
I have owned 4 8-ball deluxe pinball games, and I have yet to get one working. And the one I have now, I bought 3 8-ball deluxe. What's the,
like, LEs or...
Yeah, LE or something, which is the crap version. It's the slanty, the squatty back glass with this 45-degree slant score displays. I bought 3 of those back in the day, and every single one of them couldn't get it. And then I have a nice regular version now, and I still haven't been able to get that one going. It's been stuck away in a storage unit for a long time, but that's probably that's the game that I just have never been able to. I love the game, but never been able to get up and going.
Yeah.
That's always a shame too, because you have 3 of them. You're like, okay, I can at least cobble together one working thing out of all this, and it just, for whatever reason, doesn't happen.
The second part of Frozen Fierce question, more upbeat one, is what's a machine that you consider bulletproof and would be willing to put anywhere? I don't want to answer this.
I was going to say that's a trap.
Yeah,
I'm not going to answer that one either.
The second I say this shit, it's going to break. So Frozen Fear, why don't you stop poking your nose where it doesn't belong, buddy? Because I'm not answering that question.
Nice try.
Yeah,
but we were not born yesterday.
It's my thing is games are going to get played, where you put them, and you have to remember sometimes that they're meant to be beat up on. As hard as it is being here sometimes watching the public beat up on my stuff, I do get joy out of them playing it, but there's no such thing as a bulletproof game. You can do things to prevent things from breaking. You can go through and replace capacitors and transistors and fix wiring and stuff like that. But a surge can take something out. A pinball machine brand new out of the box, we've opened them with problems. There's really no such thing. But I would say your certain things like your Pac-Mans, your Miss Pac, stuff like that. You can pretty much get those boards really great, but you still can run into monitor issues and power supplies, but
until you can eliminate entropy from the universe,
right?
There's no such thing.
Yeah,
but I will say, Creature from the Black Lagoon's bulletproof. You could put that thing anywhere; it's never going to break down. Nothing's ever going to happen to it.
Dude, of all the games, why? Why do you got to do that?
It's the first one I could think of that was yours.
It's going to break now. Nah, man. I don't really jump a lot into the solid state stuff, but I will say, once we got Spanish Eyes kind of up and running, you were 100% right in that the more that it gets played, the less time there's for dust to settle on the switches and stuff like that, and then they really just kind of run.
Yeah, so. It's a complete flip on what you would consider it to be, and that's what I tell anybody who asks, who has an electromechanical pinball game, get repair calls all the time for it because I think the only EM technician and. I don't know how many 100 miles from where we are, but
you're my EM tech as well.
But it's like, okay, well, you just have to keep playing it. It doesn't matter if you want to. Basically,
you have to.
Once you have electromechanical working, put a couple of plays on it every week without fail. If you let that thing sit for a couple of weeks, then a switch is going to get stuck or something's going to happen. Because for those that aren't familiar with pinball terminology, electromechanicals are like pre-1977 games before they had solid-state boards. Everything has a switch, a relay, a solenoid, a score motor. It's got a physical representation of the logic that it's trying to process. And that means that there's hundreds of switches, miles of wire, thousands of things that could, and one disruption in that 1,000-part process causes your game not to work.
Yeah.
And for electromechanicals, you keep playing it, and that's the natural state of what it wants to be, is things moving, things flexing, things rotating, solenoids triggering and everything. And as long as you keep doing that, then probably the first failure you're going to have is when a coil finally burns out.
Yeah.
Over use and stuff. So you can do that. But solid state game, you move it 3 inches and all of a sudden it doesn't work because who knows.
Spanish Eyes, every once in a while what'll happen is someone will shoot the ball and it'll roll just up and sit on the bonus switch, and then you hear click clunk, click clunk, click clunk, click clunk, and people are like, look at my score, and I run over, I'm like, no.
Yeah, because that's a coil that's getting ready to burn out.
Mm-hmm.
The catch-22 of that is no one's going to play an electromechanical game on route. So
right, exactly.
You can't really put it out anywhere for people to.
It's tough, man.
For our environment where you have 30 pinball games,
people will check them out a little.
That we want to have a variety, so you want to have a couple of EMs in there along with your solid states, your DMDs, and your LCD games and everything that you have now to give players a little bit of everything to try and play. So. It works there, but no one's going to route a card whiz and put it on $2 play.
I mean, it'd be neat, but no. All right, Jared, what's your? I don't want to jinx you, but what game have you had that's been up the longest? You don't have to answer, and you don't have to say you're eager to. It's fine.
I'm not gonna say.
That's
I love how all of us
but
are in the karma mindset of like, screw you, dude, not answering.
Immediate.
Well,
and like we didn't discuss it beforehand.
No,
it's just
we didn't
immediate instinct. It's like, nope,
not doing
that's bait.
Yeah, and I would say like, kind of like you said, Adam, nothing's going to really be bulletproof. I mean, you'll hear that term, especially in pinball, like, oh, bulletproof this board or whatever. And that just means doing some of the things that will help keep the longevity up of it. But you go into some of these arcades that are more like, restaurant things, and they don't really know anything about pinball, and you realize very quickly that even a brand new machine needs maintenance, needs work, needs constant upkeep.
We've opened brand new pinballs, and ramps have been off, and switches and like rollovers have been broken.
But even just from
balls are pitted
from play, even just dirty play fields. I mean, you're
hitting around a steel bearing that's traveling in excess of 100 miles an hour, impacting with metal and plastic and rubber and wood. You got a wrecking ball inside of this. In some cases, 8 wrecking balls inside of this. And you're like, oh, yeah, that will hold up. Every pinball is going to break down. That's why, you mentioned the barcade stuff and, bars and places that have, I'm not picking on bars, any place really, but it seems to be more prevalent in like, okay, we have a bunch of games come in. We get our money from drinking, so we really don't care about the games. It's just kind of the hook to get you to come here and drink here. But a lot of those places will just open without any like, oh, we should have like a tech, or we should have someone knowledgeable about how to fix the games. And
we need a maintenance schedule for these things. Yes,
3 or 4 weeks, half their games have broken down.
Yeah,
and if you don't know how to fix them, then they don't have any working games in like 2 months, because that's just the nature of games. I mean, we have 75-ish games here, and we probably have 3 to 7 games go down every week with some sort of issue that's game breaking where people can't play it. And it's just a constant vigilance and repair days, and this is now we got to fix this one now and do that. It's never going to stop. So if you're a collector, or if you're like, hey, I would love to own games, but I don't want to fix games, you don't want to collect games.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be paying so much in repair bills if you can even find a technician in your area. Maybe you can get them on retainer or something. I don't know.
Right.
But it's going to be
we always tell people that come in like, oh, do you have any for sale? And I'm like, well, we can help you with that, but you have to learn basics.
Yeah,
I'm not saying that you need to have a logic probe and learn all that, but like basic stuff you have to learn. Otherwise, your game's gonna be down more than it's up.
Yeah, the closest I could say to that would be if, and I'm coming from like the print industry side of things, is like, okay, we have service contracts on stuff, so like that's the closest thing to like bulletproof of like, okay, somebody, is paid up front a set amount of money to make sure this is working, with a reliability of XYZ, regardless of what that means, whether they're dragging in, totally new piece of equipment or not. Like that's what the contract is. So like conceivably, and I don't have any experience with this, but Barcade or something, or a big venue in a big city may have some type of like lease agreement with like Betson's or one of the big distributors, where like that's going to be the closest to bulletproof you get. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, if something happens, they're dealing with it, and they'll come swap a new machine and we'll be up and going again.
But I know from experience that even for situations like that, unless you're in a large city where they actually are headquartered to have a branch, what they're doing is they're calling people in those areas that know how to fix the games, contracting with them and getting them to fix it on their behalf. So again, it's never a bulletproof type thing. It's always entropy. It's always going to break down. That's the nature of it. That's the con you get with all the pros that come with collecting and enjoying the games.
Yep, absolutely.
And with that in mind, I'm actually going to be selling my collection, because now the realization of the of it being a constant maintenance thing.
Cool. I'll come snag that egret.
Speaking of pinball, there's another pinball related question. This is from Rainkill on Discord. The question here is, commonly there are good movies that have bad arcade pinball adaptations. What is an arcade game or pinball that is a bad movie but has a great game?
Yeah, jokingly earlier I did say Lord of the Rings, but I understand that even though I'm not a fan of Lord of the Rings, it is by no stretch of the imagination a bad movie. This is a tougher one. So bad movie, good game. So I don't hate Johnny Mnemonic. I don't think it's a terrible movie, but that pinball's fun.
It is very fun.
That's kind of the first thing that jumped out at me.
The first thing I was thinking, and I don't have much experience with the game, but was the Sega Batman?
Batman Forever?
Yeah.
Or Batman Forever, yeah.
Was that... I've seen Batman Forever probably like when it came out, so I have no memory of it. Is that considered any good?
I'm not the person to ask.
That was Alicia
really
Silverstone and stuff, right?
No, I think that was Batman and Robin. I think.
Okay.
Right. I think Batman Forever was Jim Carrey's Riddler.
It was Tommy Lee Jones.
So I didn't know if that would be.
Was Uma Thurman in that one, or was that Robin? Batman and Robin.
That was Batman and Robin with the Bad Bane and Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy.
I get those two mixed up all the time too.
So I'm going to say that.
Is that game good though? Is the pinball good?
Well, I mean, is any pinball better than watching that movie? Would be the question. And so I'm going to go. I'd rather.
I mean, there's a couple pinballs I'd rather never play again in my life. I'd watch Batman Forever again.
I'm going to look at the play field and see.
Yeah, Johnny Mnemonic was the first one that jumped out at me first. Bad movie.
So when you get through with yours, I just remembered I did a scientific comparison.
Okay.
A couple of months ago and pushed out stuff on our Blue Sky account where I compared ratings based on Rotten Tomatoes of a movie.
Oh.
And Pinside ratings of the game.
Oh, okay.
And came up with a series of like best movie and best game, worst movie and worst game, and then the opposites of that. So I'll fill you in on that once you get through with yours.
All right, I'm going Batman Forever. This is the one with the green ramps. It's got one of the ramps that circles around like below the flipper.
Oh,
and stuff like
I
that.
have one. I have one. Godzilla, not the Stern one. That, what is it? 99. The Matthew Broderick one.
Oh yes, yeah.
That movie sucks butts, like real bad butts.
But the pinball game isn't that great either.
I love the pinball game.
It's decent, but it's not like.
I love it.
Okay,
I absolutely love that pinball machine, and I friggin' hate that movie. That's my answer. Final answer. Lock in.
All right, so I'll start with everything but the answer.
Okay.
So again, I actually did a spreadsheet, full comparison, weighted the metrics, did the averages. And here's what it is. So, biggest disparity between the movie and the pinball games is based off of. So this one is the best movie related to the worst pinball game.
Okay.
And so it already got talked about in this episode.
Is it Godzilla?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's one we have in our arcade.
Is it Nightmare on Elm Street?
It is Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street has a 94% on Rotten Tomato and only a 7.11 rating on Pinside.
I get it.
Yeah.
Best movie and best game.
It has to be Lord of the Rings.
It's not.
What?
It's not. This is a very recent movie, and I do not agree with the Pinside rating on this one. And I do not agree with the Twippy Awards.
John Wick.
Since this just took home almost all the Twippies for best game.
It can't be John Wick.
I didn't watch the latest Twippy, so I don't know.
It is not John Wick.
Okay, good.
No, it would be newer than that.
But the movie has a 97% Rotten Tomato score.
Oh, wow.
And the Pinside rating is an 8.692.
Is that just
Deadpool?
Isn't it the thing where like the newest games are always
I would argue that would be the case in this example.
Well, I was going to say Deadpool, but Deadpool's more comic than like movie Deadpool.
Now, what was the newest? What has Stern just come out with? What's
Jaws
the newest stuff?
Is it Jaws?
It is Jaws. So Jaws right now is the highest rated combination between movie and pinball game out of all of them.
Movie, yes. Pinball, not my thing. Huge letdown for me personally.
Yeah.
You are right. The worst movie and game combination tied. Let's see here. Okay, so worst movie and game combination. So this would be the bottom of the barrel. Would be Godzilla.
I love that game. I don't give a shit. That game's fun.
The game isn't rated awful. It has a 7.484 on Pinside, so not great.
Yeah.
But the Rotten Tomatoes is 20%. And that is only tied for last place with another game/movie.
Waterworld?
Johnny Mnemonic also has a 20% on Rotten Tomatoes, but the pinball's rated much higher.
Yeah. Arcade time might be harder.
I know what might be pretty high is Shadow. Right?
Shadow's a really good pinball. I don't remember the movie too much, honestly.
Shadow was kind of in the mids. The perfectly middle game. So the one that is both the most closely related to the rating of the movie as is the game is none other than Austin Powers.
Really?
Which has a 73% Rotten Tomato rating and a 7.283 on Pinside. So it's got the closest or the narrowest gap between the two.
I would have thought lowest rated movie, lowest rated pinball would have been Waterworld. Would have been my guess.
But finally, drum roll, to answer the question, I'm finally getting to it. Narrowly, and I mean narrowly, winning over Congo.
I love Congo.
With awesome. A Pinside rating of 7.826 and a Rotten Tomato rating of 20% is Johnny Mnemonic.
Is it?
So scientifically, the worst movie tied to the best game would be Johnny Mnemonic. That has the biggest disparity for any of them.
That game is fun.
And I was going to say that's because of how well received Johnny Mnemonic is as a game. Because
I mean, it's a 7.8, which for that era, for the 90s Williams games, is pretty good. I mean, unless you're like talking a Toad and a Tom and stuff and Medieval Madness stuff. 7.8 is high, but a 20% Rotten Tomato is really what the most damning thing is to cause the biggest gap in disparity there. So all those were just basically weighted like it's got a 7.826, so I just weighted that as like a 78.26 compared to the 20 on Rotten Tomatoes, and then just that was the biggest gap between the two.
So where was mine? Where did Batman Forever fall?
So I have the spreadsheet not on my phone in this thread. I'd done like highlights out of it, but I do still have the spreadsheet on my computer at home, so I can always pull that out and see.
I was thinking of stuff like Shadow. I thought about Apollo 13, but that's obviously a high-rated movie. And
Jurassic Park might be high high movie, obviously high score.
It was, yeah. And the Stern, I think, was higher than the Data East one when I looked at it.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think it was definitely top 3.
Yeah,
on the top.
I'm honestly shocked it's not Lord of the Rings.
That was, I think, maybe 2, but Jaws had it beat. Again, I'm not.
I'm telling you, that's a new.
It's got to be
newer game.
The shine
bump.
on it hasn't worn off yet.
Yeah,
all those people that put down the money on the LEs.
And no stretch is that game better than Lord of the Rings pinball.
It's got some huge advocates. I'm not sure why. My experiences playing Jaws were just it's not that good of a game, and
it was fine.
And it's not even a code thing. It's like I didn't enjoy the layout really, and
he doesn't eat the ball.
When you plunk down on an LE or two, you got to keep the value
You got to keep the
value.
Make the shark bite the ball. Have another ball shoot the ball. The shark explodes. What is hard about this? Watch the movie.
So there you go. I actually had done some research on this topic coincidentally. And
that's awesome.
And that's as definitively as I can
I'm
get.
glad that we were able to work together and pick the correct answers.
There you go.
Yeah, just like last time when we ranked the Capcom games.
Incorrect. And I don't appreciate the listeners saying that they agree with you guys. It's not okay.
It's accurate. I think. Let's
reflect
next
real
quick.
Series, 3-player beat 'em ups. Let's go.
We got to take a beat 'em up breather. I think in retrospect, I'm very happy with the list as it worked out as a combination of all 3 of our opinions.
Yeah. You have to do that. Yeah. You have to.
I think it was a fair amalgamation of what we all kind of. Again, I know you're not happy because you didn't get your game ranked number 1. Boo-hoo, crybaby.
No. It shouldn't have been number 1.
But when we're all talking about...
Shouldn't have been number 1.
When we're all talking about it...
Should have been over Battle Circuit. Anyways. Jared didn't even play the game. He just said it to make me mad. There you go.
All right, so appreciate those listener questions. And if you got your own questions to ask, feel free to join our Discord. You can pop on there and add those to our episode questions channel, and we may include them in a future episode. Speaking of future episodes, we will not be releasing another one in March, and the next one should come out around April 1st, maybe. But no, that should be right around the timing, April 1st, April 2nd, when our next episode is out. And again, European tour couldn't be helped, packing right now to leave. So looking forward to seeing all those fans in the Golden Circle around Iceland, catching them outside of Gullfoss and the Geyser, and of course all the city centers in Scotland. So
you'll be able to check out some YouTube content or go back and listen to some of the episodes you may have missed. Like what was it, the Pong episode that we need to
I think everybody missed that one.
bolster some numbers on. It was a good episode.
It's a great episode.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of episodes out there that probably should be revisited, probably by us. I think we forget most of it
I'm not doing
ourselves. So, but yeah, you can always check that out. Huge backlog of games that we've talked about. And Jared, you brought it up earlier, but yeah, 300 plus at this point of games that we've talked about in our episodes, and that has a game list link on or a game list page on our Podouken website. You can click on the link and go directly to the episode that it was talked about. So if you got any favorites, or if you want to hear more about certain games, definitely check that out. And chances are we went pretty deep into the history and the gameplay and every other aspect of it, as we tend to do. So, all right. Well, I believe that's going to wrap us up for Arcade Obscura 4-player beat 'em ups and the awesome miniseries that we've gone through for the past 4 months.
400 years.
It's been 89 years. Jared, where can they find you?
Probably not on Discord, apparently, according to the listeners. I was seeing a few comments that I wasn't on there quite enough, so we'll see.
That'll show them.
If I can hop on there, or if I can just ignore it and continue not to be on there. No, I do try to hop on there occasionally. I do read stuff. A lot of times I'm, just going through and kind of scrolling and reading, and I don't take the time to respond to everybody and everything. But I do appreciate the interaction and the comments, and I do read a lot of them. So on there some, and then just here when we start to record again.
All right, and Adam?
Twitch.tv/PastBlast there. We will now that we've kind of wrapped the series up, there are some games, especially one that you talked about tonight, that I have not played. I want to try to stream some of those. I've been trying to stream either Monday or Wednesday nights. It's kind of just when I get time. Also planning on trying to do some more pinball, and then I'm trying to create more video content for our YouTube channel. It's just surprisingly, video content takes forever to make. Who'd have thunk it? We'll check out there for stuff, and when Rob's on vacation, I'll try to get some additional stuff up there for you.
Tour.
Sorry, tour.
I can't get it paid for if we call it a vacation.
Just go back and edit and say tour.
All right, and of course, check us out on Podouken.com, the website, or on our Discord, or on Blue Sky, where we have an account there. That'll wrap us up. Join us next time. We'll be talking about an entirely new miniseries that, I'll be honest with you, we haven't even discussed what that is yet, so I can't give you any clues.
No idea.
See y'all next time.
See ya.
Later.